this is Josiah Plays Tyranny, second playthrough. Okay, we've just arrived at the Scarlet Chorus camp, and we're going to see what's going on here. I'm going to do some stuff. I'm going to loot this box. There's a small bottle here. The thick red ink inside this bottle is used by blood chanters to tattoo sigils on their body. It doesn't have much practical use. It can be sold to a merchant. Beautiful. Hello, dear.
Can't do that. Sorry, can't.
Sorry, can't. Can't do that. We've got Quiet Shiv and Shivershank over here. Tale of two Shivies. Take another step, open your foot to the dirt. It proves everything. The warrior slams her fist together in a resounding clap. Like, for instance, whether you're fit to lead that flock of children. Behind her, the members of her gang posture with weapons held at the ready. Did you not hear the news of the edict? This is a foolish distraction. We ought to be saving our fight for the enemy. Chorus warrior looks to his gang, giving them a quick nod. I'll say nothing. And with the next battle being so important, all the more reason your warriors should follow me when the time comes. She lifts a lock of hair away from her face with a bronze dagger, smiling wickedly as the blade hovers close to her eye. And it seems we have no other way about it. With a nod to his gang, he readies his weapon. Allow me to join you. I enjoy a good bloodbath. A sharp, vicious grin cuts across her face. Be my guest. I've always wanted to see a fate binder in action. He falls pointedly quiet, but finally shrugs one shoulder, seemingly smart enough not to protest. Oh, I can use athletics to beat Shivershank bloody. That sounds like fun. We're gonna have to do that. Then I'll settle it with strength. Beat up athletics. Beat up Shivershank. But then I don't actually get to fight them. No, I'm gonna do it this way. You turn to Shivershank and grab him by the scruff of his scraggly beard. Keening with both shock and pain, he can barely fight back against the sheer force of your strength as you repeatedly punch his face until all that's left is a bloody mess. Crumbles to the ground as everyone beside you slowly, tremblingly backs away. It's time for Josiah's Kid Show. Alright kids, here's the deal. You should really never punch someone, unless you absolutely have to. Unless you're engaged in a boxing match, or some other organized sport fight. Unless you have no other option, you shouldn't really punch people. You really shouldn't. Because punching people is wrong. No. Instead of punching people, you should be doing other things to people. I mean, punching somebody is a good way to hurt your fist. You can hurt your hand pretty badly punching people. Plus, relatively speaking, punching somebody doesn't really hurt them that badly. Unless you hit them just the right spot at just the right angle with a lot of force, which you're probably not going to pull off if you're not really well trained in doing it. So kids, don't punch people. Hit them with heavy objects. If you don't have a heavy object, then at least use your elbow or kick them. Get them on the ground so you can kick and stomp on them. And keep kicking them. In the head. If you can pick up something and hit them with it, now if there's something glass that you can break, then you hit him with that, and the glass cuts him, that's good. If you can get him up in the forehead, or, you know, anywhere up on the scalp, there's a lot of bleeding. If it's a scalp wound and the blood will get down in their eyes, that's really good. But honestly, just don't punch people. If you're mad at somebody and you want to fuck them up, it's understandable. But don't punch him unless you really have to. Or unless you're, like, highly trained in punching people. Then maybe it's worth doing. But other than that, I do not recommend punching kids. You're gonna hurt your hand. You're probably not gonna hurt the other person that badly. Instead, bide your time. Look around. Subtly look around while you delay the coming confrontation. Find something that you can grab and smash into them, or something that you can smash them into. That's also good. You know, wait for him to come at you, kind of use his momentum, and grab the back of his head and start pounding it into something. Or grab his arm and slam it down on the edge of something hard. Something like that. Use hard objects that are not your own body. Don't use your own fists. That's my lesson to you, children. Remember, punching people is wrong. This has been Josiah's Kid Show. Alright, so... I fucking digress. He crumbles to the ground as everyone beside you slowly, tremblingly backs away. Enjoy your new position, gang boss. I know they make punching people look really cool in TV and the movies and stuff. Like, oh, aren't you a cool badass because you punched somebody? No, punching people is foolish. Do you know why human beings invented weapons? Because they tried punching each other and they realized it sucked. So they invented weapons. Don't make those brave pioneers of weaponry's efforts go to nothing. Generally, no matter where you are, if you look around, you'll find something good that you can use as a weapon. If you're in the wilderness, there's always rocks around, there's always branches. If you're in a city, there's always things you can pick up and hit somebody with. And it's best to just get in the habit of looking for those things whenever you walk into a room. You know, just take a note. As you walk into rooms, you get used to it. Just take a note of things you could pick up and bash somebody with in the skull if you needed to. And then you're prepared. If you suddenly get jumped, you're not wondering like, oh no, what do I do? And then you're flailing away at somebody with your hands like an idiot. No. You already know ahead of time. I'll grab that thing. Just things to keep in mind, kids. You never know when your life will be thrown into turmoil and chaos, and you'll have to actually rely on these sorts of lessons. Ooh, look what I found over here. Josiah's Kid Show.
Can't do that. Can't do that.
Good thing I keep a torsion wrench handy.
Random hostile effect. Motivational speech written by Kiefer Sutherland. And don't let anybody... listen. Don't listen to these guys with their toxic ideas of masculinity. Do not listen to them when they try to tell you that it's not manly to fight that way. That a real man, you know, uses his fists and punches people and all that, and it's all about being strong and being good at fist fighting. Fuck that. You ain't got time to get good at fist fighting. That takes a lot of effort. Do you really have time to put all that effort in? No, you don't. You ain't got time to get that strong. Strength and skill are lesser than sign a good fucking weapon. That's all I'm saying, kids. And the element of surprise. That's the best possible thing. Obviously, you want them to not see it coming. Don't let them tell you, oh, you should fight honorably and it's all about being a real man and you should never take a cheap shot or a sucker punch or you shouldn't hit somebody from behind when they're not looking. Fuck that. People that say that shit probably have never been in... They probably had the luxury of never having been in situations where they actually had to fucking survive. These are chorus grounds. State your business or get lost. No. Two things to keep in mind. One, hit somebody with something that isn't your own body, if you can. And two, hit them when they're not looking or otherwise can't defend themselves. Because otherwise, they're going to, like, move. They're going to dodge out of the way. They're going to throw up their arm and block you. And then what good have you done? Now you've just pissed them off without doing any significant damage. That's stupid. Why would you ever want to give somebody a chance to do that? Come on. I mean, if you're going so far as to try to hit somebody with a heavy object, or just something nice and hard, or something sharp, or whatever, if you're going that far, you should be willing to go far enough to do it in the most effective way, and the most effective way is always when they're not expecting it. Josiah's Kid Show. I'm just saying, somebody needs to teach kids these things. You know what I mean? Kids need to learn how to defend themselves. Realistically. Not this, oh, I'll teach you how to box shit. You're not going to defend yourself by boxing in the real world. Just saying. The guard places her hands by her belt as you approach, gripping the hilt of a blade. Past this point is Chorus territory, and you don't look like someone's conscript. You sure you're in the right place? Glare silently, Time. You sure there are no witnesses? Well, there can be advantages to there being witnesses. I mean, there really can be. Sure, you want to minimize witnesses, and especially you want to minimize the kind of witnesses that are likely to go to the cops, but some witnesses sometimes can be an advantage, because then they'll tell the story of what you did to that motherfucker. And they won't tell the whole story about how you sucker punched him or how you got him when he wasn't expecting it. They'll only tell the end result. They'll only be specific about what bones were broken and how much the person whimpered as they fucking muled around on the ground in a pool of blood. That's the story that'll get told, and it'll make you sound like a badass, even if you're really not one. And then people will be afraid of you and they won't fuck with you in the future. That can be really useful. On the other hand, sometimes witnesses can fucking cross you out, so you've got to kind of be careful, but, you know. These are the things, you kind of have to learn how to finesse this stuff over time. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't learn it all in one show, on one episode. You've got to keep watching the show, kids. Also, you know, I think the whole prison rape thing is actually really, it's more of an urban legend at this point. I mean, obviously people still get raped in prison, but I mean, it's way over talked about, overdone as a theme. Everybody assumes that everybody that goes to prison is going to get raped, and that's just not the case. Maybe it was back in the 70s, the 60s, the 50s. Maybe it might be in some other countries in the world, in like really corrupt countries. But in most of the developed nations of the world, in this day and age, prison rape is relatively rare. Most people that go to prison don't get raped. So you shouldn't assume that just because you go to prison, you're automatically going to get raped. You pretty much have to give motherfuckers a reason to rape you. If you conduct yourself with any kind of reasonable good sense, and you don't make the wrong kind of enemies, and you don't exude like an aura of absolute like victimized weakness of some sort, and you don't like act really scared of people and stuff, if you don't do all that, you're mostly not going to get raped in prison. You don't need to worry about it. It's very rare nowadays. It is. At least, like I said, in developed nations in the modern era. So, don't worry so much about it. Going to prison is not that bad. I had a great time there, personally. Well, you might want to avoid weeping openly, yeah. And kind of keep that shit on the DL. I mean, people do cry sometimes, especially, I mean, by the time you get to prison, see, that's the thing, they don't just send you directly to prison. You don't commit a crime and they're like, boom, you're in prison, motherfucker. You've got to go through the entire lengthy legal process first of getting convicted and getting sentenced and then waiting for a spot to open up in the Department of Corrections system that they can move you into. All of that takes a long time. The system is extremely inefficient. So you're going to spend months, if not years, in some cases. If you're actually going to fight your charges and go to trial, you might even spend years before you even get to an actual prison. And even if you don't fight your charges, still, with the delays of the courts and everything else, and the backup in the system and overcrowding, you're still going to spend many months in a county jail before you ever get to an actual prison. And in county jails, things are even more secure, and you're usually locked up with a mix of people who have committed felonies and misdemeanors, and people who haven't even committed a crime at all and just happen to be in jail. So it's much less hardcore and much less dangerous. So the odds of you getting raped in a county jail are really low. So by the time you even get to actual prison, you've already been incarcerated for months, and you've learned how things work, and you've kind of gotten over the whole I'm going to be scared and I'm going to cry about it situation. That's already done. You're through that phase, if you had that phase at all. So by the time you get to prison, you're already pretty numb to everything, and you're just like, whatever, cool, I'm in prison, at least there's a yard here. You know, so it's prison is a step up from a county jail. Because county jails very rarely offer any kind of amenities or anything. You're usually not going to get to go to a library if you're in a county jail. You're usually not going to have a yard or a fucking weight pile or programs or classes or a good chow hall to go to or anything. You're probably not going to have anything worth a damn to make your time better in a county jail. You're going to have all of that when you get to an actual prison. So actually, after spending many months in a county jail, when you get to prison, you're going to be happy, relatively speaking, because you'll suddenly have all sorts of amenities available to you that were not available in county jail. So it's like a step up in lifestyle. Now, things do get a little more hardcore and dangerous at that point, because instead of being with a mixed group of misdemeanor and felons and people that aren't even guilty and people that are and all kinds of people that have just been thrown in jail for short term, you know, because they haven't really done anything serious. All of a sudden now you're in with nothing but actual convicted felons. So, you know, and a lot of people that are doing a bunch of time and they don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? So obviously the danger level increases, but the lifestyle that you get to live as you do your time is vastly improved. So as long as you're not like looking for trouble or just like a complete idiot, you shouldn't have any problems. You shouldn't have any problems. Unless you want to get into the shit. If you want to go get involved in fucking prison gangs and start fights and start shit and put yourself in peril, you can, and then who knows what will happen to you. But as long as you're not trying, literally trying to get yourself into some shit, you know, you shouldn't have to worry. So anyway, what are you guys saying? I've really digressed here. I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking a long digression from the game. If you're watching this on YouTube, my bad. People are like, are you ever going to play the game, or... Unless you get put on death row. But usually if you're put on death row, as far as I understand it, obviously I've never been on death row, but from my understanding, you're going to be kept isolated if you're on death row. You're going to be in a single cell, in isolation. You're going to have extremely little interaction with other inmates at all. So, death row is ironically probably one of the safest places to be in prison. They want to make sure nothing bad happens to you before they get a chance to kill you. But yeah, county jail kind of sucks. Because see, county jails are typically maximum security in terms of all of the actual security protocols. You're usually locked down almost all the time. You have very little movement around the facility. Like I said, you're not going to a library, you're not going to a yard, you're not going to a chow hall, you're not going to a chapel, you're not going to a gym, you're not going to anything. You're just staying in one little lockdown area, locked down in your cell almost all the time, or in a very small, like, little day room type area with the cells around it where there's nothing to do, and so it's really boring. County jail is really boring compared to prison. Actual prisons are required to provide you with all sorts of things, at least in the United States. Obviously, I can't speak to how the prison systems are in other countries, but in the United States and in most sort of first world nations, there's laws, you know, there's standards. Prisons have to treat prisoners fairly well nowadays. They have to give you access to certain things, certain kinds of recreation, and certain kinds of you know, there's going to be a law library. There has to be a law library. You have to have meaningful access to the courts. You have to have access to books and media and things to read. You have to have access to recreation, meaningful recreation. You have to be fed reasonably well, and so forth. So, really, they take pretty good care of you in prison nowadays. But about escaping, you don't want to try to escape. First of all, you'll fail. If you do manage to succeed, they're going to catch you afterwards, and then you're going to have to do multiple additional years of time for the new felony of escaping that you just... And that's assuming you didn't hurt anybody during your escape, or steal anything during your escape, like a vehicle, or anything else that'll add additional charges. Because if you escape, they are not going to run that shit concurrent with your current sentence. They're going to run that shit consecutive, which means every new charge you get while escaping, including escaping itself, which usually carries at least 3 years in prison in most places, if not more, if not up to 5 years, they're going to add all that time on the end of your sentence, plus any other new charges you got from the course of your escape. So escaping is never a good idea. Unless you literally have life without possibility of parole. If you're never going to get out, then I guess you might as well try to escape. But good luck, because if you have that much time, you're going to be put in an extremely high security place, and you're not getting out of there. I mean, yeah, every once in a while somebody escapes from prison, but it's so rare, you know. And if they do escape, they're usually escaping from a lower security place, which they shouldn't be doing, because if they're in a lower security place in the first place, that means they have short time left, or relatively short time, which means it's dumb for them to escape if they're just going to get out in a couple years, or, you know, a handful of years anyway. So, yeah, nobody reasonable actually tries to escape. Just do your damn time. You'll be fine. And this has been Josiah's Kid Show. So, what am I even doing in this game? You guys got me talking about this shit. I mean, I don't know that you guys got me, but I got off talking about this for some reason. And now I'm going to glare silently. What if it was a jail that turns the prisoners into food? Yeah, that would be bad. I don't think that really happens in the first world. Industrialized nations in 2016, though. That's more like a sci-fi thing. Or like a really fucking scary third world country sort of thing. %, completion in criminal record. The game is a case of failing to be a completionist is fine with me. Yeah, I mean, Saito, you haven't even gotten the achievement in real life. There's actually a whole host of achievements you can get related to being arrested, incarcerated, all that. You're missing out on those. You cannot 100% real life unless you do that. And suddenly Jen's here. Hey Jen, how's it going? You're reading a cannibalism book. Tell me more about this cannibalism book. That sounds interesting. Good to see you, Jen. Glaring silently. The guard tenses up, locking eyes with you. That walking hunk of rust? What's he, she, maybe it doing here? You dolt! This is the Fatebinder! He's been with us since the damn start, even shed blood at the gates of judgment! Fucking new fish! Start learning the names and faces or find work as someone's moving target. Hey, that's funny. That's topical. We were just talking about prison. Fish is what you call somebody when they're new in prison. That's somebody with a new number. Somebody that just came down is a fish. I already read this. Major favor with the chorus. Chat in this channel is upbeat as always. Yeah, if you just showed up, Jen, you just missed the lengthy... Well, it wasn't exactly story time, but it was talking about prison time. The guard shakes her head, blushing with embarrassment. Terribly sorry. Now please, come right in. Cannibalism book sounds interesting. You mean, like, is it a fictional book that deals with the topic of cannibalism? Or is it like a non-fiction book exploring actual cannibalism in the world? Is it a book that teaches you how to be a cannibal? Is it a philosophical treatise in defense of cannibalism as a noble thing for mankind to be involved in? Is it an actual book that attempts to eat other books? Literary fiction? Ah, nice. How not to experience unwanted sexual kindness. Wow. Guard watches you coldly. How does he drop anchor if he can't take his armor off? Keep your thoughts to yourself, chorus maggot! Wow, he's got some shit to say. Alright, we're back to the Scarlet Chorus camp. And we're going to talk to the Scarlet Fury. The soldier nods at you. The soldier nods at you. Fifth Eye must authorize all prisoner visits. Filthy mongrels! Vendrian Guard prisoner, Variah Kell. Lantry, can't talk to him though. Because the Fifth Eye must authorize all prisoner visits. Just see this guy saying that shit over and over and over again. You're fine when you're in cow form, but as a human. Reading up on cannibalism for your character. Scientists are really good at making terrible things sound innocuous, in case you didn't know. Binocular deprivation? No, I don't know what that is. These arrows are splintered. They're fletching model. They were likely pulled from corpses. Who the fuck is Death now? Man, I don't know what kind of voice this person has. Yeah? As much an accusation as a question, the broad-shouldered woman shakes her head with a scowl. So, your turn on Fatebinder. I was expecting something more impressive. She bows in spite of her misgivings. Death knell, Scarlet Fury. The time is yours for as long as it amuses me. It's where you sew an animal's eyes shut. Why is there a name for that? Because why would you ever do that? Hashtag fuck science. Why would anyone sew an animal's eyes shut? Besides, if their one motivation is, I would like to be on Josiah's hit list. I don't actually have a hit list. I should probably start one, though. Why would you sew an animal's eyes shut? That's fucked. That's some Nazi shit right there. The fighter effortlessly spins a bronze sword about in her hand. Let's get one thing clear. Stick to your words and law. Leave the fighting to the grown adults. Your corpse would just be a tripping hazard to those of us having a proper bit of carnage sport. We've got enough useless twats dying for our name as it is. All our hard recruits seem good for it of late is piling in a shit-raking mound on the battlefield. She hums low to herself and flips her sword side to side with several deft flicks of her wrist. Keeps up. We'll have to toughen our recruitment standards. Again. Now, what do you need? Sold me again, and I'll bury that blade in your belly before you can scream. She peels a surprised but pleased laugh at your threat. Tapping the flat of the blade against her thigh, she cants her neck until it audibly cracks. Maybe there's something more to your Faithbinders after all. What were you expecting? Let's see. Death now counts on her fingers, conducting some mental tally. From your deeds during the conquest to how you've helped us since then. I expected a mountain. A warrior of colossal size who could shout a rampart wall into submission. She smiles. But I think you'll do just fine. You can glue them shut, you can destroy the retina, or you can just stick some blinders on them. Why wouldn't you just use the blinders? Why would you do something that permanently fucking mutilates and tortures the creature? What the fuck, science? Mostly involves stitches. Thankfully, I've only worked with mice and bees. Now, if somebody is stitching a bee's eyes shut, that motherfucker has skill, and I gotta give props where they're due. You said something about the horde thinning. Swelling until it's thundering, then crashing and receding. It's been the way of the chorus for as long as I've been in it. She offers a one-shouldered shrug, ambivalent if anything, but more likely, just uncaring. We take our prisoners alive, give them a chance yet to live, to be reborn into something better. Putting any and every able body to the sword like the disfavored do is nothing but a waste. A conquered enemy is but a new ally. It merely requires the proper coercion. Listen, this is what I would say to scientists. Before you do a thing that involves another living creature, ask yourself this. If an alien species shows up at our planet tomorrow, and they're so highly advanced that we are like fucking insects to them, and they're gonna grab us up, you in particular, and they're gonna do exactly the same kind of experiments on you, and the same procedures that you do to these animals, would you still be okay with this? Would you still do it? Because if you wouldn't be willing for them to do this shit to you, you shouldn't be doing it to anything else. That's just me. Look, I'm all for fucking sneaking up behind a motherfucker and hitting him in the back of the head with a brick. I mean, kids, you know? That's just sometimes the way human beings have to deal with each other. But being cruel to animals is just un-the-fuck acceptable. I mean, yeah, if an animal's like attacking you and you've got to defend yourself against a fucking wild animal, obviously do what you got to do. Or if you live out in the wilderness and you've got to kill an animal to eat to survive, do what you got to do. But beyond that, leave animals the fuck alone. They didn't do shit to you. Most of your research was watching bees have sex, so you were literally learning about the birds and the bees. Well, maybe not the birds, but the bees part of that equation. No, Saito, if you start with the premise of sometimes you have to do horrible things to achieve progress, that opens up every evil sort of scientific torture of human beings we can imagine. Because at that point, I can justify any horrible shit I want to do as long as there's a chance that it will achieve progress. You can't... That premise is the most horrific of slippery slopes. You can't... Sometimes you gotta do that shit to achieve progress. You're a bee pornographer. That's pretty awesome. I mean, isn't sometimes you have to do horrible things to achieve progress exactly what the Nazis said? Alright, let's see, what are we... I'm so fucking out of the game at this point. She offers a one-shouldered shrug, ambivalent if anything, but more likely just uncaring. We take our prisoners alive, give them a chance yet to live, to be reborn into something better. Putting any and every able body to the sword like the disfavored do is nothing but a waste. A conquered enemy is but a new ally. It merely requires the proper coercion. Of course, we do sometimes have the problem of lingering loyalties. Deserters are rarely successful in their escape, but they do try. The Vendrian Guard, strengthened by their numerous blood ties, have been particularly stubborn. So I have a better plan hatched. Contra Clesia, how's it going? Good to see ya? Should you buy this game, need a real player's review? Well, I like to think of myself as a real player. No. Yes, you should buy this game. That's the short version of the review. The longer version is, this is my second time playing through it. I really loved playing through it the first time. If you've played Pillars of Eternity, this game is a lot like that, but I think it's way better. If you like Pillars of Eternity, you would love this. If you haven't played Pillars of Eternity, but you have played other isometric RPGs, like the old Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, or more recent, or like the 1 and 2 Fallout, or like Arcanum, or like Divinity Original Sin, or like any kind of isometric RPGs like those. If you liked any of those kind of games, I think you would love this. If you've never played any game like that, well, then it's hard to say how much you would like this, because it's you know, that's the type of genre of game it is. But I still think it's a really good game. It has a great story. It has really good characters. It has a really awesome setting. It has great writing and dialogue, good music, fun combat, cool character creation and advancement systems. Really awesome magic system, and just in general, it's a really good game. So I would say yes, buy it. That's my real players review. Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player. Just for some reason, when you said a real player's review, it just sounded funny to me. I don't know. All internet users need Godwin alert. Alright, yeah, no problem. Have a good one. Have fun. Take it easy. So many dead mice. But is that really necessary? Is there literally no other way to learn what you're trying to learn besides killing mice? I think it... See, now, this is me being a weirdo again, but this is, again, with Josiah as a sociopath and doesn't have any respect for the value of human life, but I think it would be more ethical to do these experiments on humans than on animals. Because a human can consent to it. An animal can't consent. A human, or we could do it on humans that have done really bad shit, and we could take that as their version of consent. Oh, you're a rapist? We're taking that as consent to be experimented on. As long as that's already pre-existing law and everybody understands it ahead of time, there it is. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you harmed a child? Thank you for consenting to our science. Or, you know, whatever. You could have certain crimes that just, if you commit those crimes and you're convicted, you become a science experiment. Does that sound unethical? Sure, maybe. But to me, it's less unethical than experimenting on animals. So I have a better plan hatched, she says. Brutal. Efficient. I like it. She tips her head to you, a smile playing in her lips. I had the feeling you'd see it my way. I'm thinking we'll redouble our efforts to recruit settlers, focusing on the unaligned and unsuspecting, instead of flushing ourselves to the gills with oathbreakers, claimed from the battlefield. How exactly do you plan to convince them? A knife point has sufficed well enough in the past, but you've inspired me to try a more diplomatic approach this day. What do you say, Binder? You might be able to ease them into the idea, and save the lives of their friends and neighbors in the process. Sure, why not? It sounds like a bit of fun. The Fury howls a satisfied laugh and smacks you dead on the back. My methods are surefire. You'll see. I'll mark the settlement on your map. She grins, biting her bottom lip bloodied. Can't wait to see the outcome of your efforts. What can you tell me of the Scarlet Chorus? We are the voices of the rat's glory made manifest. In the chorus, strength rises and the weak feed the soil. Deathnell smiles, standing tall as she extols the army. Our ways terrify the cowardly and shock the naive, but our traditions exist to offer promise and prestige to those fit to claim it. We abandon all petty rules for one simple law. The strongest must lead. What is your role in the Scarlet Chorus? Deathnell frowns, her eyes narrowing. You'll not recognize a Scarlet Fury when you see one. We are the warrior spirit of Chorus, scholars of sword and shiv. Oh, we've gotten back to the scholars of the shiv line. Scholars of the shiv. Hashtag fucking scholars of the shiv. Dude. I've known me a couple scholars of the shiv in my day. She folds her arms, puffing out her chest. Here we go. Now they're started talking about fucking guinea pigs again. You can't even... You can't... You can't go 5 minutes without fucking the guinea pig love club happening up in my chat. In peace, we train those tough enough to endure our lessons, but wise enough to learn from the best. In battle, it's our duty to slay our foes and inspire the horde with our skill and bravery. Death now clicks her tongue, looking aside to the others in the camp with an eye roll. We are fearless vanguard of this confused but glorious rabble. I've heard they taste wonderful in Ecuador. Why is it super weird? How has the military life treated you so far? Oh, it's a wonder of wonders. I eat what I want, I shit where I want, and I kill who I want. Sometimes I even combine pleasures. She winks at you. Oh, dude. Once again, just like the last time I read this line, I'm like, what? Which of those pleasures do you combine? None of those things should be combined. You shouldn't be combining eating and shitting. First of all, that's gross. You shouldn't be combining eating and killing. That's gross. You shouldn't be combining shitting and killing. That's what we call being a barrack shit churro. I mean, none of those three things combined is good at all. Most animals don't need ascorbic acid in their diet. Oh, really? Vitamin C is awesome. Heard good things about Kui. Yeah, me too. Well, I've heard things about Kui. I don't know that I would call them good things exactly. My enthusiasm for the work brought me here. A decorated Scarlet Fury veteran, eh? But I'm looking for advancement. If it means killing one of the gang bosses, I'm not above taking a swing at someone bigger than me. They can be bigger than you. Just make sure they don't hit harder than you. Wise word, sister. Farewell. We have the Horde. The Scarlet Chorus Horde depend on recruitment to increase their numbers. However, due to the casualties and lack of prisoners in battle, their numbers have begun to thin. Deathnell, a Scarlet Fury, has a new tactic she would like to test out, if you are willing to participate. Deathnell said that a gang of Horde are raiding a remote settlement on the western side of the valley. Head there, and link up with the Chorus forces. Alright, we talked to Deathnell. We read about the splintered arrows. This barrel is full of murky red water. Severed limbs bob under the greasy soup skin. Ah yeah, I remember the barrel of severed limbs. Battle plans are scribbled over a blood-stained map of the Tears. Arrows point toward the inner ring of Vendrian's Well. Of the Vendrian's Well Valley, and small circles are drawn around the citadel. Got another one of those small bottles of ink. Most of these provisions are withered with rot, so these people don't do a very good job taking care of their shit. There's a dog, though. Hello, dog.
What? Good thing I keep a torsion wrench handy.
Got a whetstone. Hey, a level up just occurred. Beautiful. Sphere. Level up. Level up. Alright. What do I have here? A nobleman's hat. Beast blood pollen. Alright, let's talk to Salvaros. Speaking of little pigs, there is one right there. Yeah, there is a little pig. Did we lose Noxmoo? What happened to Noxmoo? Hasn't said anything in forever. His favorite Wrath 1. Won't say I'd rather take a lashing on the post making conversation with a fate binder, but I also won't say it's not a tempting alternative. He flexes his broad shoulders to work the stiffness out, heavy armor clanking as it shifts on his frame. Then he sighs strongly, as if the whole of Tyranny has forsaken him. Forgive my insolence. It's been a trying week. Hey, Nox is here. Cloaked in shadows like a Klingon cow of prey. Nice. Stealth Nox. But I'm pleased to meet you all the same. Now, what brings you to my little slice of personal damnation, otherwise known as... He spreads his thickly gloved hands wide. This here mud and shit stinking chorus camp.
Lives are at risk, and even then you can't get along with the chorus.
Begging your pardon, sir, but I've never fought a battle where my life wasn't on the line. He shrugs. Kind of the nature of war, isn't it?
You act like it's a punishment to be assigned to this detail.
Isn't it? I know I fucked up to get here. Got 3 days in the hole and a nice little promotion to go with my new post. Well, I won't be making the same mistake twice when it comes to the Iron Marshal. He juts his chin toward the distant valley. I should be out there, fighting for Ash's glory, not standing here ready to run back a report should something ever, finally, fucking happen. I'll stare silently. He stares back for a long moment before lifting one meaty shoulder in a stiff shrug.
Why are you stationed with the chorus?
From the way most of my days go, you'd think I was here to row with blood chanters and scarlet furies. But my post is to represent the disfavored's interests before Fifth Eye and the scarlet choruses before Iron Marshal Arenos. Not that I've gotten to do either in so much as the last span. Blooded Mork.
You sound frustrated.
I am. He tips his helm back enough to spit at the ground. You try having to fist fuck every fury who wants to talk to you. And that's after I try to talk them down. It's a Kairos damned mess. He's got to fist fuck all the furies. Damn. This just took a turn right here. You have to sleep? Alright. Well, good night, Jen. Thanks for coming by. Good to see you. Have a good evening. I'm going to send an email out to y'all soon about trying to figure out when we want to get this thing going for the D&D. Some nice bedtime reading about cannibalism. Yeah. Good times. Good night.
Have anything you'd like to report, soldier? Maybe you've noticed something unusual during your time here.
He cants his head to one side, taken aback. What about the chorus isn't unusual? The army itself is a strange, malnourished beast. But no. No, the screamers seem mostly in order, sir. And I haven't been spying, if that's what you're implying, sir. Still as a post, he studies you sharply, scarcely appearing to breathe. Of course, even if I was, it'd be damn near impossible to learn anything from this shit sty. Fifth Eye and those damn Furies don't even loop me in enough for me to do my detail. And it's not for lack of trying on my part.
Right. Because you seem so easy to work with.
He guffaws, loud and bemused. Aren't I? Iron Marshal always said I was too soft when it came to incomers on account of me being such a good-natured fellow. Gained a little bit of favor. In fact, you should tell Death Knell that. Maybe she'll stop hiding troop movements from me, or passing me enemy intelligence she thinks will get me killed.
Farewell.
Alright. Can't talk to Lantry. Lantry, low Lantry, banana, bow Lantry, fee, 5, faux Fantry, Lantry. Soldier nods at you. These spears are brittle and rusted. Bent bronze dagger. The stench of piss and fecal matter emanate from this tent. One clearly not used for rest. Hard to tell though with the smell of barrack, you know what I'm saying? Hard to really tell where the smell of shit is emanating from. We're so used to the smell of shit everywhere we go in this world. Grain fish and LLGs. Light leather gauntlets. They are gauntlets and they are of light leather. Oh, these are better than what she's wearing. Light leather gauntlets. They are gauntlets of light leather.
Moving cautiously. Sorry, can't.
Quiet Shiv is here. What are you looking at?
Sorry, can't.
Sorry, can't.
Won't happen.
Sorry, can't. Sorry, can't.
Don't have enough subterfuge
Can't do that.
for that.
Sorry, can't. Sorry, can't. Can't do that.
There's Reg and Baz. Soldier nods at you. Small marks have been painted onto this corpse, marking certain body parts as more difficult targets than others. These threadbare tents show signs of hard use and long-term exposure to the elements. There's Snigler Dagos, Blood Chanter sandals, and a bronze hammer. Please, hammer, don't hurt him. You see a sage being crucified on the pole. 1, do nothing. 2, edict caster. Let my party member go. Fifth Eye. I don't have enough lore for that. Alright, so we need to talk to Fifth Eye, and Snigler Dagos, and Reg and Baz. In reverse order. Ain't nobody trying to wear these sandals. Except for her. She's trying to wear them. Ain't nobody trying to use this bronze hammer. He'll use it. That reminds you... Oh, Edict Caster, meaning that you played through the game before. That would be pretty cool, actually. None of those tents seem to be made out of slaves. The key to tell, in case you're wondering, is to look for faces or nipples. That could be a career-ending injury for it. Somebody thought they lost their nipple at work. What do you mean lost it? What do you mean lost it? How do you lose your nipple? Like, the only way I can think you could lose it is if it got cut off, and I would think you would know that. That wouldn't be like a, I think maybe my nipple got cut off, but I'm not really sure. Like, I would think that that would be a thing that you would immediately know whether or not it was the case. I hate when I lose my nipple, especially when I'm not sure if I lost it or not. That's the worst. Alright. A quick save here. Well, sorry we didn't get much done this episode. Basically, we did almost nothing because we spent so much time talking about other stuff. Got very little done on this particular hour of gameplay. But we will be back for some more next time. So, another quick save. Thank you for watching. This has been Josiah Plays Tyranny, second playthrough.